What up? It's your homeboy Maal The Pimp, aka MTP, and welcome to another edition of Stories from the Pimp. This story I'm gonna tell y'all right here. This is my Hurricane Katrina experience right here. For those who don't know, I'm a Hurricane Katrina victim. I'm from Tennessee, but I lived in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, so I went through all the shit that came with that. So let me give y'all the rundown building up to Hurricane Katrina, right? So all right, now keep in mind when I first moved to New Orleans, I'm new to this hurricane shit. You follow what I'm saying? So all that is that's we don't have that in Tennessee, so that's new to me. You feel me? So I'm down there, hurricane season come up. The first time it was a hurricane, it was a category one or a category two. They say that was coming to the city. So naturally on the news, they get on the news and say, hurricane come to the city, everybody evacuate. You follow what I'm saying? So me not being from there, the news say evacuate, I'm finna leave. I'm going home. So I remember being at the Chopper City Records office. Now I'm telling Carol Dorset, I'm finna go home. What you going home for, Maul? Well, they said it's a hurricane coming. It's a category one or category two, and they say you're supposed to evacuate. She was like, oh, you don't supposed to go home for no category one hurricane, man. It's just gonna be a bunch of rain. You don't go home for that. I'm like, well, that's what the news said. The news said evacuate. Oh, that ain't gonna be shit. It's gonna be a bunch of rainstorm. It ain't gonna be shit. And then while I was living at my next door neighbor, he was an older white guy. He saw me packing my shit for the leave. He said, where you going, neighbor? I said, well, I'm finna evacuate because the news said go home it said evacuate because of the hurricane, so I'm finna go home to Tennessee. He was like, oh, it's just gonna be a bunch of rainstorm and probably some heavy winds, but you shouldn't evacuate for that. Me not being from there, I ain't taking no chance. I'm finna go home. So I leave, drive all the way to Tennessee. At the last minute, the hurricane turned and not hit New Orleans and go to Mississippi. So I done drove home for nothing. You follow what I'm saying? Same scenario. Another month later, here come another hurricane. Same scenario. Hurricane coming to the city is gonna touch down on this day. Everybody evacuate, take shelter, all this old shit. So now this is my second time. I'm like, all right, I'm finna leave again. Same scenario. My neighbor, what you leaving for? It's not that serious. Blah 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 blah. Carol Dorset at the office. Oh, Ma, you leaving again? You saw what happened last time, blah, 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 blah. Well, the news said evacuate, and I'm not from here, so I'm finna go. You follow what I'm saying? I drive home to Tennessee again. This motherfucker turned left and go to Texas. Don't even hit New Orleans. So that's twice that I done drove home evacuating because the news said get out the city. You follow what I'm saying? Fast forward to Hurricane Katrina. All right, so when it came to Hurricane Katrina, before Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, we had a concert in Miami on South Beach, right? So we in Miami for the concert, and it's time to fly back to I think Hurricane Katrina hit on, I think it was a Thursday if I remember right. I think it was a Thursday. So if that was the case, the concert in Miami was on a Wednesday in South Beach. We fly to Miami for the concert, you feel me? Now, when it's time to fly back to New Orleans from Miami, that's a 2-hour flight, quick flight from New Orleans to Miami. When it's time to fly back, the airport is saying it's a tropical rainstorm in the ocean. We're going to be shutting down certain flights, blah, 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 this and that. They started canceling all these flights flying out of Miami, all these flights. Because when you fly out of Miami, out of Miami, most likely you got to fly over the water depending on where you're going. You follow what I'm saying? So, and it's a tropical rainstorm in the ocean. So they're canceling all the flights. For some reason, they didn't cancel our flight leaving Miami going to New Orleans. So, you know, when you're in the airport, you look on the board right there and say what time you're leaving and all that. All the flights canceled. Miami to New Orleans, departing on time. I'm like, damn, why the fuck they didn't cancel our flight? But okay, cool. that shit behooved me. Everything else canceled except our flight. We got to fly with straight water from Miami to New Orleans. You follow what I'm saying? So we get on the airplane. As soon as we take off, the pilot come across the little intercom and say, this is going to be a bumpy flight. Flight attendants be seated. We're not going to be serving any drinks or no food or whatever during the flight. That scared me right there. About 20 minutes into the flight.
Hold on. So what was it about that what made that be the reason that scared you?
Because anybody who done flew before, once you take off, the pilot come on the intercom and say, once we reach cruising altitude, we're going to start serving food and drinks. That's what they say when you come over the intercom. So when he come over the intercom and say, we're not going to be serving anything, everybody be seated, flight attendants don't get out your seat, this is going to be a bumpy flight. I'm Like, damn, it's that serious where y'all ain't serving nothing. So, and then I'm knowing already all the other flights have been canceled. And then we flying out, and now you ain't finna serve no drinks because it's that dangerous. So that shit right there, that's a mind game. That fucking me already off the rip. You follow what I'm saying? So about 20 minutes into the flight, you feel me? Once we get over the clouds and all that shit, everybody be seated. Don't get out your seats. Keep your seatbelts in. It's about to get bumpy. Boom, 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 boom. That's why this motherfucker bumping, shaking, dropping down 50 feet, then coming back up. I'm somebody, there's people on side of me. I remember specifically, it was a lady on side of me dressed in a nun outfit, like a nun. She had a cross on her neck. She had a daughter or whatever with her. She had her daughter clutched like this and had the cross doing like this. She was kissing the cross and they was praying and doing all this type of shit right here. I'm looking at this. You follow what I'm saying? I'm looking at the other person on the other side of me doing like this with their head bowed. I'm like, man. So I'm scared as fuck. And I'm off top. I'm a nigga. I don't like the turbulence on the plane. I don't like that shit. You follow what I'm saying? That bothers me. And this right here, this turbulence times 50 right here. You follow what I'm saying? Because we flying through this tropical rainstorm. You feel me? So the plane shaking, everybody's scared and praying and all this old shit. I'm looking at all this. That shit spooking me. You feel me? So I'm thinking like, man, please tell me that it ain't finna end like this. You hear me? Because it really felt like this motherfucker was finna go down at any moment. So please tell me it ain't finna end like this. I'm praying. I ain't doing all this, but in my mind, I'm praying like a motherfucker because I'm scared. You feel me? So it's a 2-hour flight from Miami to New Orleans. The whole 2 hours. Bump, bump, shake, shake, drop, pancake. The whole 2 hours. We finally land in New Orleans. The next day, I watched the news. It says tropical rainstorm forming in the ocean. It's going to be a category 4 hurricane. This is Hurricane Katrina. It's coming to the city. This is going to be real serious. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, damn, that's what we was flying through right there. You follow what I'm saying? That's what we was flying through. That tropical rainstorm is what we was flying through. That's why the plane was doing all that. That's why all the flights got canceled. We flew through what that was right there. So okay.
So when y'all flew through it, it was just tropical storm.
It was a tropical rainstorm. It was still forming into a hurricane. It was a tropical rainstorm, yeah.
And they don't give tropical storms names.
No, they don't give it a name until it forms into a hurricane, yeah. Yeah, so it was a tropical rainstorm at the time in the middle of the ocean. So we flew through that. By the time we get to New Orleans, I guess it built up energy and whatever else comes with that, and it formed into a hurricane. And that's when it became Hurricane Katrina. You follow what I'm saying? This is a category 4 hurricane. This is going to be real dangerous. We asking everybody to please leave the city. Do not stay here. Blah, 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 blah. So me, at this time, I'm thinking, I done left 2 times already for no reason. You follow what I'm saying? So I ain't leaving this time. Fuck that shit. I ain't leaving this time. I'm finna stay. I'm finna ride this out. The flip side of it is this. My neighbor, the older white guy who stayed next to me, I saw him and his wife packing their clothes up. I saw them taking their clothes to the car. I said, y'all leaving? He told me, yeah, neighbor, I think y'all leave for this one right here. This is going to be big. And he was an older guy. He was like, I was around for Hurricane Betsy. I was around for Hurricane Betsy back in the day. This is going to be big like Hurricane Betsy. If I was you, I wouldn't stay here. They left.
So do you know what made him make the assumption that this one was worse than the other 2 that missed it? Is it because they were calling it category 4 or?
Right. Category 4, category 5, you're in trouble. So category 1 and 2, people from New Orleans, they used to that type of shit. You follow what I'm saying? So that's nothing to them. It's going to be a rainstorm. Some trees might get knocked down, but it ain't life-threatening. Category 4 or 5, you're in trouble. Me not being from New Orleans, it could be a category 0. I'm leaving. You follow what I'm saying? Because I ain't used to that. So the first 2 was categories 1 and 2. So they didn't leave. I did. This one right here, category 4, I'm not leaving because I done left twice before for no reason. So when I'm seeing the people who told me the last time, who laughed at me for leaving, right? Now I see you leaving, I'm like, okay, this must be serious. So my neighbor was leaving, like, y'all get out of here for this one, man. This is going to be just like Hurricane Betsy. It's going to be big right here. So I saw that. And then I go to the office. Carol Dorsey, BG, his mama Cynthia, they all packing up and leaving too. We finna go to Houston. And they also laughed at me for leaving the last 2 times. So I'm thinking, damn, they leaving, my neighbor leaving. I'm like, okay, this must be serious. So Carol asked me, Ma, you want to evacuate with us to Houston? I'm like, hell no, I ain't finna go to no Texas. Fuck no. I'm gonna stay. I done left twice for no reason. I'm finna stay. They went to Texas. My neighbor left. I'm at the house chilling. All right, so I'm looking at the news the whole time. It was Mayor, what's his name? Black dude. Mayor Ray Nagin was on the news. He was the mayor of New Orleans at the time. Mayor Ray Nagin on the news telling everybody, this is going to be a serious hurricane. Please leave the city. Do not stay. If you stay, you're on your own. You're staying at your own risk. We will not be able to help you. If you have to stay, please come to the Superdome and take shelter in the Superdome. You follow what I'm saying? This is what the mayor is saying. I'm looking at this on the news, him telling people to leave. You follow what I'm saying? I'm still like, man, fuck that. I ain't leaving. My homeboy, Big Mike, he called me. Now, Big Mike is a street dude. He don't watch the Weather Channel. You follow what I'm saying? This is the type of nigga that watch the news to see who got killed. You follow what I'm saying? So when he called me saying, hey, Maal, man, it's a hurricane coming to New Orleans, man. You need to bring your ass home. I'm like, damn, this nigga said that it must be serious. You follow what I'm saying? Then my dad had called me, and then people like who I had music industry relationships with across the country, they started calling saying, hey, man, it's a hurricane coming to New Orleans. You gonna leave or what? So when I started getting all these calls, I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I do need to leave. You feel me? Maybe I do need to leave. So I got in I packed a few things, got in the car, tried to leave. The streets was bagged up. You couldn't go nowhere. You feel me? Like I couldn't get from my street to the interstate. The interstate was bagged up for one, and then the streets trying to get to the interstate was bagged up. You follow what I'm saying? I sat in traffic for about 2 hours. I'm like, man, fuck this shit. I turned back around, went home. About 2 hours later, I tried to leave again. Sat in traffic, stuck for 2 hours. This time, I'm seeing people on the side of the road running out of gas. You know what I'm saying? The gas station's running out of gas. People car overheating and all that type of shit. And you just stuck in one place like a parking lot on the street, but let alone before you get to the interstate. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, I can't go nowhere. Went back home and parked my car again. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a hotel room. I'm gonna go downtown on Canal Street and get a hotel room and stay down there. Then I said, before I get a hotel room, I might just go get some weed and come in the house and just chill at the house. You follow what I'm saying? Before I spend that money on a hotel room. So I went and got some weed. Came back to the house. And I'm like, all right, cool. The whole time I'm watching news the whole time. They're showing the shit on the little hurricane shit spinning on the news. It's gonna touch down at this time, that time. This is gonna be major right here. Get to the Superdome. If you stay at your house, you stand on your own at your own risk, blah blah blah, this and that. About 4:00 in the morning, I got up and left out, and the streets was clear, the interstate was clear. I drove home. I got home like around 11 or 12 noon. From New Orleans to Chattanooga is like a 7-8 hour drive. I got home like 11 or 12 noon. About 3 or 4 that evening, bam, that motherfucker hit. You follow what I'm saying? I'm looking at the news and shit. I'm looking at CNN by this time. They broadcasting live. I'm seeing everything from the French Quarter side just tearing shit up. I'm seeing all this shit. I'm like, man, damn. And then the party fucked me up because I'm seeing people on the roof who stuck in their house with signs saying, come get us, come help us. I'm seeing the shit going on at the Superdome. I'm thinking, that's the one time where I literally cried because I'm thinking, man, when I saw people on the roof holding up signs saying, please come help us, I'm knowing in my heart and in my mind, that would have been me right there because I really was not finna leave. You follow what I'm saying? I had my mind made up like I done left 2 times before for no reason, so I'm not finna leave this time. You follow what I'm saying? So if I went ahead and made that last minute decision to leave, I would have been in my house stuck on the roof or stuck with water up in my neck trying to get out of there. So when I saw that shit, my heart went out because I know for a fact that that was supposed to be me. I made a last minute split decision to leave. You follow what I'm saying? And then go the fucked up part. When I leave, right, I only packed 2 outfits. I'm thinking the hurricane finna come, pass by, then we're gonna come back to the city. So I had the clothes that I had on. I packed 2 pair of shorts and 2 shirts and some shoes. That's all I had. Thinking I'm finna be back in 2 days. So when I come home with basically no clothes, and then the hurricane did what it did, I'm looking on the news like, damn, it's gonna be a while for you to go back to New Orleans, and I ain't got no clothes. I ain't got no clothes. The office closed down. I ain't got no way to make no money. I'm stuck in Tennessee. You follow what I'm saying? No clothes, no money, none of that shit. And then I'm looking at when they start showing overviews of the city, I'm trying to see the exits they're showing and all that. When I finally saw the exit, which was my exit, I'm like, damn, my house flooded like a motherfucker. They showing the exit, right? They showing the street sign. The water's up to the street sign. So I'm like, if the water's up to the exit sign, I know my house flooded. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, damn, my house flooded. I ain't got no clothes. The clothes I got is down there. They fucked. You follow what I'm saying? So I was out of it for a while. Here go with the blessing came in that, and that's why I always believe, with me being raised in church, God look out for His people. I really believe that. So I go to church that Sunday. The pastor at the time of our church, Pastor Clark, rest in peace. So after church service, he called me to the front of the church, put me on the spot. You feel what I'm saying? He was like, I know you live in New Orleans now, man. We seeing what's going on with the hurricane. I want you to get in front of the church and speak and tell everybody, pretty much give us a rundown of what happened. Let everybody know what you had to go through to evacuate and blah, 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 this and that. I'm thinking like, damn, I don't really want to talk about that. But he put me on the spot. What I'm going to say, no. So I got in front of the church and gave the whole spiel about the hurricane coming, how I tried to leave and I couldn't leave. Now I finally left at the last minute and came home and saw everybody on the news, and I was thinking that could have been me. I came home with no clothes and I ain't got nothing to wear. I just gave the whole spiel. After I gave my whole spiel, he came behind me and was like, this guy's been a member of this church since he was a kid. He's always paid his tithes. So he's in a situation where he needs us now. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm going to put this basket out here and I want y'all to just contribute whatever y'all got. Man, the whole church lined up and dropped all kind of money and all kind of stuff in there. You follow what I'm saying? So I left with a pocket full of money. And the crazy part about that, I'm the type of guy, if I'm going through a situation, you will never know it because I don't tell nobody and I don't ask nobody for stuff. But at that time right there, I really needed that because I didn't have nothing. I really needed that. You know what I'm saying? So, in me knowing I needed that and wasn't going to tell nobody I needed that and didn't ask for that and it happened like that, that was a blessing from the Lord right there. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciated that. So the church donated to me, so that's how I had some financial money for a minute. One of my homeboys, I ain't gonna call his name, but one of my homeboys at the time, I was mad at this nigga because I was at Hamilton Place Mall one time and I locked my keys in the car. And I told this nigga, man, come out here and take me back home to get my spare set of keys so I can unlock my car. This nigga talking about, man, my girl tripping. Man, fuck her, come get that, bro. But he didn't do it, so I had to go pay a locksmith. So I was mad at that nigga for not doing that. But when this happened right here, that nigga came before me and gave me a whole bunch of clothes. You know what I'm saying? So a whole bunch of clothes he didn't wear no more, or even clothes he was wearing. He got a bunch of clothes. So now I got clothes, because I didn't have no clothes when I came home. Now I got clothes from him. I got money from the church, so I was able to kind of get by because of that. You follow what I'm saying? So, and that was a blessing from the Lord. Everything worked in my favor. Fast forward, about a month later, they opened the city back up for people to start coming back to New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? But it was a curfew because everybody was looting down there and breaking in stores and shit like that. So you had to be off the streets by 8 o'clock at night. You feel me? So when you go back to the city, I drove back down there to check on my house and see what stuff I could get. You feel me? I drove back down there. When you first drive into the city, they had two big ass army tanks right there with about 15 soldiers with M16s checking ID before you get into the city. You follow what I'm saying? So I had to go through all that bullshit. Get to my house. Here go the crazy part.
Did you have your? I know in one of the other stories you was talking about how you had the Tennessee ID.
Yeah.
Did you have your Louisiana ID?
I never had a Louisiana ID. I had a Tennessee ID. So when I drove back down there, of course, when they saw that, it's crazy you asked them. They saw that, like, what you doing down here? I said, I live down here. I got a New Orleans address. I just had a Tennessee ID. So they questioned me for a minute, then let me on through. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy you asked that. Yeah. So, because at the time, they was really particular about who they gonna let into the city because of the shit that was going on in the city. So I'm a nigga coming in with a Tennessee ID. What the fuck you doing down here? I live down here. Here's my address right here. I'm just from Tennessee. I'm coming to check on my house. So they let me in. Once they saw that they believed me. You feel me? So they let me go back. Here go the crazy part. This is like a month later. By this time, my landlord had got back down there, and she had got the townhouse complex fixed, and she was trying to rent it back out to other people because everybody had evacuated, right? So she started renting out to other people. So she done put my shit outside. You feel what I'm saying? So when I pull back up at the house, all my shit is sitting outside with a towel over it. You follow what I'm saying? Because she had already rented the house out to somebody else because she had got the repairs fixed and all that shit. So I go outside, all my shit, everything that I left, which is everything. I only came home with 2 outfits. I'm talking about studio equipment, clothes, bed, TVs, all this shit is sitting outside with a tarp over it, basically. You follow what I'm saying? And I'm in a car. So I had to get what shit I could, put in the car and bring it back home. So pretty much I lost everything when it come to that shit. Everything. brought all that shit back home. This was in Katrina hit in August, so this was in September. Come back home. In October, we relocate to Detroit. This is what we set up shop at in Detroit. You follow what I'm saying? We go to Detroit. Carol fly me to Detroit. And for the first 6 months we was in Detroit, me, Carol Dorsey, BG included, we all lived at a hotel in Detroit that was paid for by FEMA. You follow what I'm saying? For 6 months. So we'll be at the hotel, and then we'll leave the hotel and go to the office and do our work, and then come back to the hotel. We had a concert out of town. We would fly out of town and come back and live at the hotel. We was in the hotel for 6 months. After that 6 months, when FEMA stopped paying for hotel, I finally got me a house in Detroit. You follow what I'm saying? In the hood, in Highland Park, west side of Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And after about a year and a half in Detroit, we relocated back to New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Once the city opened back up and everybody just poured back in, we came back to New Orleans and set up shop in New Orleans. Got another office out in Metairie. You feel me? So that's my Hurricane Katrina story.
Hold on. So
yeah.
How do you feel if you would have stayed? Do you feel like you would be here today?
Oh wow.
Because I mean, you said looking at it, you could tell that it was pretty much flooded real bad.
I don't know, Rick. I don't know if I'll be here today. And the reason I say that because a lot of people died in that shit. A lot of people got flooded and died. They couldn't get out the house in time. The people that was able to see the flood coming up, some people was able to make it to the second story and then get to the roof and bust a hole in the roof and then get out on the roof and say, help us. But that didn't happen to everybody. And then if you go back to New Orleans right now, to this day,
that's still like I've seen pictures. That's still
to this day.
It still has demolished houses from
especially in New Orleans East.
And that's been what, almost 20 years? Because that was what,
2005. So 17 years, yeah. To this day, right now, to this day, in New Orleans East, when you ride by, and probably other cities, probably other parts of the city too, but in New Orleans East, when you ride by, you still see houses that's abandoned with numbers on there. Some houses have 0 on there, which means when they search, it was 0 bodies. Some houses have 3 on there, which means it was 3 bodies we found in here.
So that's what the numbers mean whenever they
yeah, when you ride by a house and you see 0, 3, 1, 2. 0 mean we rode by this house on a boat and it flooded water and we didn't find no bodies. 3 mean we found 3 bodies in this house. And they just marked 3 on the house. I mean, somebody else got to come back and get the bodies. You follow what I'm saying? So that's still going on. Those houses are still up to this day right here. You feel what I'm saying? So to answer your question, if I would have stayed, I don't know if I would have lived or if I would have died. I really don't know. But I know I would have been in a fucked up situation. That's why when I came home and I saw what was really going on, and my heart went out because I know that really was supposed to be me. I made a last minute split decision to come home. I was finna stay. I left twice before for no reason. So this time I'm like, man, fuck that. I ain't going nowhere. And that was the time that I really should have been leaving. You follow what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I that's a question I really can't answer. I know if I would have stayed, it wouldn't have been good. And then look at the people who went to the Superdome, That was supposed to be an in and out thing, 2 or 3 days. They ended up being stuck down there for weeks. You know what I'm saying? Without no food, no water, people was dying in the Superdome. It was murders going on in the Superdome. You got people who was diabetics down there who couldn't get insulin, who was dying because of that. It was a bunch of fucked up shit going on down there. You know what I'm saying? And I considered going to the Superdome. I really considered that. Like, let me go down here.
That was gonna be one of my questions. Whenever you said something about going to the, you was thinking about going to the hotel, and you decided to go back home.
Yeah, I considered the Superdome. Like, let me just give me some food, pack a few sandwiches or whatever, take my weed down there, go down here. Then once it passed, leave back out. Not knowing when she went down there, that was almost like a jail sentence. She was stuck down there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm knowing I considered that. I'm knowing I considered staying. So when I see all the after effect that came with that, I knew that it could have been me. It was a blessing that I came home. It was a blessing that I got money from the church. It was a blessing that my homeboy gave me clothes. You follow what I'm saying? That was a blessing because I know I could have been in a bad situation. So each time I see a Katrina victim, I hear about that, my heart goes out because I'm a victim myself. I just didn't get the bad end of the stick when it comes to almost losing my life. I got the bad end of the stick when it came to losing my material shit, but that can be replaced, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, so that's my Hurricane Katrina story right there from Stories from MTP. Like I always say, go to my website, www.maalthepimp.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, which is @MaalThePimp. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is called Pimpoholic TV. We out here. Salute.